Hey, I'm Pentalus. I'm currently rank 8 right now, and I'm a jungle main who's been playing a lot of Season 15. Here's my tier list of every jungler on this patch so far. Starting off, we have a Mumu. Mumu's mid tier because he has a good ultimate for team fighting, which is pretty important in Season 15. Team fighting is very important, so that's why Mumu is in B. The reason he can't go higher is that his skirmishing skills are quite bad, and he's pretty weak to invades in the jungle as well. Speaking of invades, we have Bel'Veth. Normally, but I hate playing against Bel'Veth. Bel'Veth is the one champion that will go into your jungle and screw you over for the entire game. But this season, since teamfighting is very important, Bel'Veth is pretty bad because what is a Bel'Veth going to do in team fights? Like, he's just going to do absolutely nothing. The only way Bel'Veth wins the game is if he goes like 12 kills by invading you. But now, since invading is less important, Bel'Veth will be at the C. Next up, we have Brand. For Brand, nobody really plays this champion. I saw one person play it in Korea, and that's about it. So I'm going to put in not played. Next, we have Briar. I would say Briar is a pretty bad champion this season because Briar's kit has always had one fundamental problem, which that it's too simple to know what the Briar is doing, right? When Briar presses W and goes in on you, you know what exactly this Briar is going to be doing because she cannot control her character herself. She is going to be running at you in a straight line, and that is very easily exploitable by most people in the game. Next up, we have Diana. I would say Diana is a slightly better version of Mumu, so I would put her in high B because Diana can clear well, and Diana can fight well as long as having like a good impactful ult in Diana's ult. Like Diana's ult may be a bit worse than Mumu's ult, but Diana's ult is still pretty good compared to Mumu's ult. This problem Diana faces is that she does not have any CC, so she cannot gank like a Mumu, so she'll be put in B and not much higher. Similarly, Dr. Mundo, pretty bad. Not as bad as Briar, but the problem is Dr. Mundo is that why would you ever play Dr. Mundo when there's better tanks in jungle to play, like Skarner? Like, if you're playing Dr. Mundo, the only reason you should be playing Dr. Mundo is when Skarner is banned. Echo, is pretty mediocre. I would say it's better than Bel'Veth. The problem with Echo is that his team fighting is not that good as well. He does have some good damage and able to assassinate one person, but I don't believe this is assassin meta because tanks are very strong right now, so Echo has trouble getting through the front line sometimes. At least I would put her in B tier alongside Diana and Amumu. At least is pretty good at ganking and tower diving. Ever since they changed the aggro on the towers in Season 15 to basically ramp up damage quicker, at least this repel is a very good tool for diving. Similarly, the problem with Elise not going higher is that she sucks at team fighting, so that's why Elise is in B tier. Next up, we have Evelynn. Evelynn is pretty bad, but I would still say she is better than Briar. Evelynn is just an assassin that does nothing this season again. Like, this split is very hostile to assassins. I would say basically every assassin is not good in a jungle right now. And Evelynn is useless until 6 also, so she cannot impact the early game. Phil 6, I actually believe Phil 6 is in A tier, our first A tier of the list. The reason why is because Phil 6 is really good at teamfighting with his ultimate. The R over the wall can single-handedly wipe a teamfight. He does grubs very fast and very healthy, and his clear is also very fast and very healthy. The only weakness he has is that he cannot gank. But late game, if you have a Phil 6 on your team, you get a lot of vision through his trinkets, and you can basically scare them off very easily with the threat of your R. I have not seen a single person play Grega's jungle this split, so it's not played. Graves is in a pretty rough spot right now. I would say that he's better than Bel'Veth, but similarly, in a team fighting meta, Graves is not going to perform well. He has his clear, he has his invade, but since it's not invade meta, he's going to be in C tier. Next up, we have Gwen. Gwen's actually probably very close to becoming S tier. There's been a lot of Gwen mains that have been climbing recently, and the reason is because she has decent impact in team fighting. Although she cannot gank or basically do anything else a normal jungler has, when Gwen hits 2 items and just from like AFK farming for the first 10 minutes, she will single-handedly win a team fight by just like pressing R on your entire team. And it's not like Fiddlesticks where you have to be sneaky and like channel your R for 1.5 seconds. No, she literally runs up at you and presses R, and she's immune when she presses W. The champion is just BS in the jungle right now, so that's why she's at A. Next up, we have Hecarim. Hecarim, pretty bad as well. Normally, Hecarim is good at team fighting, but I think the problem with Hecarim this split, at least from what I've seen, is that Hecarims are just kind of weak and cannot get past the front line. Yes, Hecarim can ult into her backline and disrupt the team, but how is Hecarim killing any of the tanks that are good right now? I know there's a Korean person who's currently rank 1 with Hecarim right now, but since I haven't seen any good Hecarims myself, I have to put it in D tier. Next up, we have Ivor. Ivor's pretty alright this season. I'd say B tier as well. Probably higher B tier. He's good in team fighting. He just doesn't have the impact early game. That's always been his problem. Jarvan, pretty good champion. A tier. The ultimate on Cataclysm can just R a whole team. And if you manage to like EQR or ADC, they have to either flash out or they have to just die to some other wombo combo that your team has. Next up, we have Jax. Nobody plays within jungle. It's pretty bad. Karthus. Karthus is like a better version of Hecarim. I'll put it above. I think I put it like high C tier with Echo, probably above Echo. Karthus' R is really good for team fighting. The main problem with Karthus is that, again, no ganking power, and it's pretty easy to kite Karthus out. So he'll be in C tier for now. Next up, we have Kang. Kang is probably worse. It's like a power farming version of Karthus, but Kang doesn't really do anything. If you go Shadow form, you're Assassin, and you're kind of useless. If you go Red form, you're a Bruiser, which means you aren't as useless. But the problem is, you can't really do much as Kang, in my opinion, even on Red form. You don't have the healing necessary to split. Keeping in line of trend of Assassins being bad, Kha'Zix is probably slightly better than the other Assassins, so I put him in mid C tier. The reason he's better is because his invisibility makes it so that he can actually like kite in and out of team fights. And since he can kite in and out of team fights, he's able to create more pressure with his R that other Assassins can. So that's why Kha'Zix would be C tier for now. Next up, we have Kindred. I think Kindred's, even though Invading is pretty weak this season, I think Kindred is better than most of the C tier champions, so I'll be putting him in B. Kindred is good at taking marks, and he's an ADC marksman, so he's not that bad at team fighting. The problem with Kindred, in my opinion, is that, again, he cannot bust through the frontline tanks, and tanks are pretty good right now. Next up, we have Lee Sin. I think Lee Sin should be like put in lower tier B. You can make some very nasty insect plays out of Lee Sin, but otherwise, without the R kick flash, Lee Sin is kind of weak just by the numbers. Riot Games should just probably buff the numbers and it'll be a nice champion, so I'm not too sure why his numbers are that bad, but anyways, he's alright. He'll be in B tier. Next up, Lilia. Lilia is good because her sleep is really good in team fights, but and she has like a good clear early game. The main problems I have with Lilia is that Lilia is pretty bad at clearing the jungle later on in the game. Her items do not synergize well with her jungle clearing speed. And also, additionally, Lilia before 6 is basically useless without R. And Lilia is so dependent on her R to be useful that's why she's in A tier right now. Next up, we have Master Yi. I know that they tried to buff Master Yi's crit strategy, but it's pretty bad. Like, Master Yi, one shot in team fight by any CC, not enough damage to kill the backline. Duskblade of Draktar has been removed for like 5 seasons now. Bottom of the barrel. Trash. Similarly with Maokai. Maokai is like a tank, so you would assume that maybe he'll be good this season, but Maokai's just like... they nerfed him 5 million times with his jungler in the past, and he's not been recovered from these nerfs. The one specific types of games where he's good in is high challenger games, but there's not even many high challenger lobbies going on. So that's why I put a D. He's probably better in competitive, but not in solo queue. Nobody plays Mordekaiser jungle. Nobody plays Morgana jungle. Next up, we have Nidalee. I'd say Nidalee is bottom of B. Nidalee's a very skilled expressive champion, So if you're pretty good with Nidalee, you can maybe even bring up to top of A tier. But the average Nidalee player, not that good on champion, probably is going to be in B tier. And if you're like first time Nidalee, you should be all the way to the bottom. But anyways, Doctor, I feel like it's an alright champion this season, probably above Diana. The ultimate is useful for turning the lights off, but suffers the same fate as Diana. Pre-6, not that useful. And in the late game, you basically are a way to turn off the lights. You can maybe assassinate one person if you're lucky, but that's pretty rare. And your game plan as Nocturne is to basically power farm until level 6, and then after level 6, use your ult on whatever unsuspecting person is coming up. Next up, we have Nunu. I think Nunu is slightly in A tier. I don't think he's too strong right now, even though he's the main champion I've been playing. I do think Nunu has a lot of weaknesses, especially with other champions invading him, but he's a tank, he can run Aftershock, he's pretty tanky, and tanks are good, so he'll be in A tier for now. Nico, nobody plays. Olaf jungle, I have seen one person play Olaf jungle, so I'm not going to put in not played, but I'll say that this champion is very, very situational. In most situations, it's bad, but in some situations, it can 1v9. Generally, in 99% of the games, he's going to be like middle of the pack C here. But most of the time, going to be here. I've seen nobody play Poppy Jungle. Only one person plays this, and nobody else can really play this champion, so I'll play it not played. I've seen a couple of Rammuses being played lately, but I still think Rammus is pretty trash, so I'll put him in D tier. He can only taunt one person, and when people realize that they just shouldn't auto attack you during your W, he's pretty useless and not very impactful in the game. Rek'Sai, probably mid C tier. Rek'Sai suffers a problem of just being bad stats wise. He cannot really engage a fight well because if you just flash knock somebody up, you're most likely going to be dead because your health is low. And although he's like okay in a 1v1, he's pretty bad elsewhere, so I'll put him middle of C. Rengar, same assassin problems. Kha'Zix, probably worse than Kha'Zix, probably better than Blue Cane, so I'll put it above Dr. Mundo. You can one-shot one person if you're lucky, but most of the time, you're going to be blocked by a tank, and if you're blocked by a tank, then you're just not having any fun in the game. Nobody plays Rumble Jungle. Although Sejuani is a tank, it's pretty mediocre. It's like the same problem as Maokai. It may be good in very high elo games and competitive, but generally, Sejuani doesn't do much in the jungle, so I'll put her in D tier. Shaco. Now, there's two builds of Shaco that people do. The AD Shaco and the AP Shaco. I think AD Shaco is probably bottom of D like Assassin, but AP Shaco is actually not that bad. I think I'll put him in B tier. The reason why AP Shaco is not that bad is because you can set up fights, or you can set up your boxes around the new objectives like Adakon or any other objectives, and it's pretty annoying for the enemy team to have to walk into your boxes. It's kind of like a Maokai sapling, except the fact that Shaco also has great early game potential and a good clear, unlike Maokai. That's why Shaco will be B tier. Shyvana, I didn't think there was a champion worse than Master Yi. It's probably Shyvana. Shyvana just full clears this season, and after she full clears, I don't know what she does. She's not even powerful. She's not good at team fighting. She has basically no strength. She can maybe 1v1 somebody. I guess like that's similar to like what Briar and Master Yi does, but overall she's pretty mediocre. Next up, we have Sylas. Nobody plays Sylas Jungle. Finally, we have the S. S for Skarner. I'll even put it here. This champion is still beyond broken. Riot Games should nerf it. Pick ban every game in Pro. In solo queue, you basically become a tank with the ability to duel people for some reason once you have Heart Seal. If you ever want free elo, just lock in Skarner. Nobody's playing Taliyah Jungle right now. Nobody's playing Talon Jungle right now. Well, maybe Broxa is playing Teemo Jungle right now, but this pick is very unserious. Even if I had to rate Teemo Jungle, it would be bottom of D. Trundle, I guess some people are playing Trundle Jungle. It'll be relegated with the 3 other 1v1 champions on the list, which are only good for 1v1s, but not good for anything else. That's where Trundle belongs. Udyr, haven't seen many Udyrs this season, but I don't think it's that bad. Uder's always been alright with his empowered R doing a lot of damage and him having a good clear. He's not that good in team fighting and he's not a tank though, so he'll be in B tier. Viego is probably like in between, I say, Nuna and Lilia. Viego's a pretty good champion. If you get one reset in a team fight, you're golden and you'll be able to like basically win the team fight solo. So Viego will be playing A tier alongside other people. It's just not comparable to Skarner at the same time, so that's why I'm not putting it to S. And most of these champions are pretty good against Viego, in my opinion. Next up, we have Vi. Vi is pretty alright, so I'll put her middle of B tier. You have to know how to like play Vi though, and have your team play around your Rs. But the cease and desist is a very powerful tool if you just queue in with Vi and R their backline AD carry, so that Vi can basically take out their main damage train in team fights. That's why I'll put Vi at B. She's a bruiser too, pretty good. Volibear, I'd say he's better than the champions in D, but he's not. He's barely out of there. Volibear, too simplistic. You can do tower dives with your R, but honestly, like even if you're playing Volibear, it's pretty rare that I see somebody do that. And overall, Volibear is just too simplistic of a champion and basically not enough value for you. Next up, we have Warwick. Warwick's pretty bad. I'll put him in with the other 1v1 champions. Probably actually a bit better. You know what? I'll give Warwick middle of C, actually. The reason why she's middle of C is because his E is actually a good damage reduction tool in team fights, and he has good ability in his suppress. Problem Warwick has is that it's pretty lackluster. His abilities aren't complex. He won't catch you out by surprise. So that's why Warwick is in C. And he's not that good in team fights. Xin Zhao is probably going to be in A tier as well, bottom of A. Xin Zhao's ultimate is a very good tool in team fights. If you can use it properly, it basically negates a ton of damage and makes a lot of space for your team to play in. That's why he's A. He's bottom of A though, because I think most of the champions above him do a better job in team fighting or just generally fighting than he does. Next up, we have Zac. Zac is a pretty alright tank, but I'll put him in probably high B tier. The reason why he's not that good of a tank is because I feel like Zac, you have to build damage. I think the leading build on Zac is like Conquer and not Aftershock. And if you don't build any damage on Zac, you're kind of useless. And in addition, Zac, you have to be able to land Zac's E's in team fights to do well. So that's why I feel like Zac's high of B. Because most of the time, there's a lot of things that can block your E from landing. Like Giant Tornado or, I don't know, like NECC, Poppy W, etc. Dead Jungle is not played. Zyro Jungle is good for one thing only, which is clear. You have a very, very fast clear. I think it's one of the fastest jungle clears in the game. But it's pretty trash otherwise. That's why I'll put it in C. Her team fighting is good, but generally it's pretty hard to play her against like anybody that is trying to take a 1v1 against you on like Dragon or Grub, so you cannot really interact with the enemy jungler in time. Next up, we have Wukong. Pretty good jungler. Top of A. Very good team fighting. The clear is not great, but team fighting is just excellent on Wukong. You can win a single team fight by if you know how to do the right Wukong combos. And even though you can't do anything before 6, your after 6 is just too strong right now. And in team fighting meta, he's top of A. Pantheon is also, unironically, mid-top of A. I actually thought before today that Pantheon was not a good champion. But afterwards, I played against like 10 games of Pantheon jungle. And the amount of armor and magic resist that he gets from his empowered E basically makes him like a very tanky character. It's like he was even more tanky than me when I was playing Ninja. So that's why I'll put Pantheon A. It's like a fake tank. The empowered E just gives too much resistances, and his ultimate Grand Starfall is very good at ganks and moving around the map. And overall, it's just a solid champion that can win duels as well. Basically does it all. Not as good in team fighting though, and scales off late. So that's why he's below Wukong and Skarner. Finally, nobody plays Neferi jungle, nobody plays Shen jungle. But anyways, that's it for me today. Subscribe if you like. Follow me on Twitch. I'm live every day at 3 a.m. EST. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.